action.
David Steiner here, your stuttering lawyer. And actually, I want to begin with a certain amount of news. I did the ancestry DNA thing, a while back, but I recently also did the 23andMe, and it came out the breakdown of where my ancestors come from is almost exactly the same as what was found in Ancestry. But the difference with 23andMe is they also tell you what characteristics you probably have based on your genetics, and they also tell you how much Neanderthal DNA you have. It turns out that I have more Neanderthal DNA than 66% of 23andMe customers, which explains so much, doesn't it? And it turns out that one of the Neanderthal characteristics is you tend to be afraid of public speaking. I don't know if I certainly was at one time, and all right, there we go. But anyway, there have been a lot of questions recently on stuttering to confidence on how do I handle my stutter? What do I do about it? Which, of course, is the primary question. I've recently put on 3 YouTube videos, links to 3 of my YouTube videos where I talk about pullouts, voluntary stuttering, and disclosure, all of which are, in my opinion, great ways of handling our stutter and getting over the fear of it and improving it. But of course, there's a lot more. One thing, of course, is joining the international and national stuttering support movements. After I had a very difficult speech situation, back in the 1990s, after I was a new lawyer at the New York City Law Department, I decided I needed to change my life. And I got involved in the stuttering support movement, and I did it, head first. I went right into it. Once, I first got into it, there was the first summer I was going to get into it, I was going to go in the 90s to the National Stuttering Association convention in Atlanta, but I had to cancel that because I had a trial coming up. The following summer, though, I went in completely. First, I attended the Speakeasy convention in New Jersey, which is a small convention. Next, I attended the NSA convention in Tacoma, Washington, and it was big and it was great and I loved it and I had a great time. And lastly, that summer, I attended the first ever CAPS, that's Canadian Association of People Who Stutter, a combination ABC, which is l'Association Québec du Canada, and it was held in Quebec, and it was great. And then I just kept going. I went to every NSA convention. I joined the NSA chapter in New York City, where I was working, and I started going to the ASHA convention every year, and I started going to the International Fluency Association convention, which happens in a different country every 3 years, and I started going to the World Congress on Stuttering also. That happens in a different country every year, and I went to Belgium and Denmark and Australia. I mean, it was great. But and I joined Toastmasters, which I would also highly recommend. It's an international public speaking organization. I joined Vanderbilt Toastmasters. I'm in New York City, and I was, and after a while, I started presenting the Toastmasters workshop every year to the NSA convention. And after a while, I became president of Vanderbilt Toastmasters. Now, most Toastmasters clubs are evening clubs, but Vanderbilt was a lunchtime club. And here's where it gets cool, because it was it was a lunchtime club. I was the only person who was a member who actually lived in Manhattan. All of the others commuted, and that became quite an important thing, because the Toastmasters competitions, where clubs take on other clubs, are always in the evening. And because everyone else commuted, and I was the only one who lived there, nobody else wanted to compete. Now, how clubs choose who their competitors are is they have a club competition, and there's a district-wide competition twice a year. Each one has two competitions. One has international speech and humorous speech, and the other one is table topics and evaluation. And but our club, because everyone else commuted, no one else wanted to stay in Manhattan to compete. Other members competed, but that's because they were parts of the evening clubs too, where they lived, but not in Vanderbilt. And so we didn't have any club competitions in Vanderbilt. And so twice a year, after I was president, I declared myself the winner of both competitions every 6 months, and I would go and compete. It was a lot of fun. One year I actually won, and then I competed the division sector, and that was great. But so Toastmasters is something I would highly recommend. We presented the Toastmasters workshop. I presented it with other members who of NSA who are also Toastmasters every year for several years. And we did that because there were a lot of members who wanted to join, but they were nervous to go to a meeting. And so this was a way of seeing what happens. And a lot of people joined. Some people asked me, well, wouldn't it be easier just to join speaking circles? Speaking circles, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's a different kind of a speaking organization where you go and there are very strict rules where they can't do anything while you're speaking. They're not supposed to get any expression on their faces or say anything. They're just supposed to look at you. Then after you give your talk, everyone there, regardless of how you did, is supposed to say a complimentary thing about how you did, as opposed to a Toastmasters, which is much more true to life. And after every speech, another member gets up and he evaluates you, and he compliments you where you were strong, and he offers constructive criticism, which is often quite pointed, if you were not, which I prefer. It's much more true to life, and it will help you improve. So speaking circles, I think, if you're really, really afraid of public speaking, maybe it's a way to start out. But people say baby steps are best. No, baby steps are never best. Baby steps may be the only thing you can get yourself to do in a particular situation, but they're never best. So I would say if you could skip over speaking circles and to go directly to Toastmasters, I would highly recommend that. And something else that also helped me a lot was the Dale Carnegie course. Now, I took that a long time ago. I don't know how much it costs now. It is expensive, and so that may be prohibitive. Toastmasters is cheap. It's quite affordable. But anyway, these are things which you can do to help you along on your stuttering journey. And so, but with that, I'll say Happy New Year. David Steiner, over and out.